What up? Wade here. So today what we're going to talk about is a book called The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman. And so this is the first book review of the channel, and it's probably a good place to start because this is one of the best. This is one that I've recommended very regularly, especially people in relationships, but I'm going to apply it to networking. I'm going to apply it to any social situation. So if you want to be a better communicator, if you want to have the other person you're talking to think, wow, this person really gets me, and you're able to create the right emotions in them and to create the right response from a persuasion and influence standpoint, then this is a great book. And so what it's all about, there's the 5, of course, different love languages. So I'll go through each of the 5, but first I want to give you kind of sort of my big takeaways from what the book is all about. So I had a post about a week ago on Facebook where I talked about the #1 skill that you need to be more persuasive, influence people, attract the opposite sex, anything where you want to compel them to do something. What it comes down to is your ability to step inside the other person's mindset, their worldview, and really understand every aspect of that. Everything from, the experience that they've had in their past, what their parents were like, how they feel love, and that's why this book is so great for any sort of social dynamics. And so what I loved about it is it shows that we each feel love in different ways. And a lot of times when you have conflict in a relationship, he's a marriage consultant or marriage counselor, so he talks about that a lot. And in that context, we all have different languages for love. And so an example would be, let's say you use words of affirmation. So you're telling the other person why they're beautiful, why they're amazing, and you're giving all these sort of linguistic examples of how you're loving them because maybe that's the way you got love from your parents. But if the way that they feel love is physical touch or acts of service where, you taking the garbage out or things like that, if you're not doing that, it doesn't matter how much you say that to them, they're not going to respond. They're not going to feel loved. And so this is, I feel, the crux of the issues that everyone has with communication, with getting, whether it's your customers and you want them to buy your products, you're not translating the benefits in a way from their worldview. You're too much coming at it from the expert. If it's men, back when I was a dating coach, they were thinking, okay, what is a woman attracted to? Well, I'm attracted to looks, and you know what? I'm not good looking, I'm too short, so I'm never gonna be successful with women. And it wasn't about that at all. When you step inside their worldview, when you don't bias it from yourself, then you realize that, women, what they respond to is high status behavior and things like that. And so the biggest takeaway, even if you don't check out this book, comes down to, again, we all think differently. We all respond differently. And there's different formats or different modalities that affect different people in different ways. And so now let's get into the 5 different love languages, and I'm going to apply them to a relationship context, but also how you can use these in a networking, social, and sales context. The first love language is one I already mentioned, words of affirmation. And so some people, they just respond best to when you actually tell them how you feel about them. And this is a great example, let's say with a mentorship situation. If you can find out that your mentor really responds well to words of affirmation, that is important for you to, when you're following up with them, saying, hey, you know what, you told me that was great, it really helped me out, and explaining to them, whether it's in an email, whether it's in a text message, whether that's over the phone or the next time you meet up, know that if that's what they respond best to, you should probably piece those things in. And of course, definitely with your partner, if that's what they respond to, make sure, even if it doesn't feel natural, even if it doesn't feel comfortable, learn that language. It really is like learning a language. I remember for myself, when I was working on the self-esteem and self-assertiveness stuff, probably like 10 years ago now, one of the biggest things to do was I couldn't give people compliments because I was afraid if I gave them a compliment, maybe it came across weird or could have been awkward. And so I get that even though you're offering value here, it might be a little bit of a challenge, but realize that the better you get at this, even if this isn't their primary love language, when you can do all 5 with everyone that you meet, man, you're going to be incredibly persuasive and influential to get them to do what you want them to do. Of course, use that ethically. So #2 is physical touch. And so this one, less so in the workplace environment, less so in a networking context. But definitely, I've noticed that if you can cross that barrier, if you can get across the gap of when you meet someone, maybe you shake their hands, but you also give them a pat on the shoulder. Or when I have times where if I have a friend and they're in a bad mood, instead of just talking them through it, kind of shaking them out of it. And the physical aspect, it really enhances things. It takes things to another level. And of course, in physical touch, when it comes to in a relationship, this is hugely important. But it goes beyond just, sexual intercourse. It goes beyond just sexual touching, but just, touching somebody on the arm sometimes, holding hands. And even if it doesn't feel natural for you, my family, we didn't really grow up with a lot of physical touch. So this is one that I've really had to develop. And so I think this one especially, it's important to realize that when it comes to patterns, I talk a lot about patterns, different behaviors that we have, how we're all creatures of habit. Just because it doesn't feel natural doesn't mean it's not the right thing to do. You got to think about what they feel, what the other person, what they respond to best, and also pay attention to their language. If they're using words like, yeah, it feels right to me, or you know what, I just can't grasp onto it. They're more of a kinesthetic person, and it's good to give them that physical touch to really translate things in a language that they can truly understand. And so again, even if it doesn't feel natural, over time, if you do it long enough, reinforce it, it will become part of your repertoire, it'll become part of your new sort of bilinguality or like polylingual from the fact that you can speak all the different love languages. The next love language is acts of service. And so this is my primary love language. And as I go through these, definitely be paying attention and think, okay, which one resonates with me? Which one feels right for me? Because when you know yours, you can really communicate that to other people and help them help you feel as good as you possibly could, whether you're in an intimate situation, friends, family, whatever, colleagues, in the work environment, your clients, in any context. When you know what turns you on, one, again, it helps you get out of your own way and say, okay, that's what I like, that's what feels right to me, but maybe it's different for someone else. And so where does this come from? For me, it always comes down to the parents. We model the people that we know that are closest to us when we're young. And my mom was doting all over me when we were younger. She did the laundry, she made the bed in the morning, she did my lunch, she made me dinner, and that whole process led to me feeling that's how I felt love. And so now in my relationship, the way that I was mainly communicating that was doing stuff all the time. But she was saying, hey, we don't hang out enough. I'm like, but I made dinner last night, or I got your dry cleaning today. That's not enough. And she's like, no, that's not enough, because it's different for her. But on the other side, I didn't feel that I was getting enough love because I wasn't getting those things from her, and that wasn't her primary love language. So again, you have to have that conversation, and you have to say, okay, what do they need, and how can I communicate to the other person in a way that resonates best with me? But on top of that, this applies to everything. In my client relationships, I make sure that if acts of service is for them, I'll make sure to do things to physically, like to help them out. So maybe it's an example would be, let's say if somebody is working on a sales page, we have the call, we talk about it a lot, but I'm like, hey, pass that over, I'll take a look at it and I'll do a little video screen capture to say, okay, here's what you could tweak here and there, and then give that to them. And that act of service that goes above and beyond my normal coaching, all of a sudden they feel, oh man, he really cares about me. He really cares about me taking the next step. And I know that for them, that resonates better, or that feels good to them versus, let's say, giving them a book or something like that. Because that's a different love language, which we'll get into next. The next love language is gifts. And so this one's fairly self-explanatory, and you have the cliche example of the husband who makes a mistake, or he's working too much, so he buys his wife flowers, or he gets some jewelry. Some women, some men respond well to that, but not everyone. And also for me, what I realized is that gifts didn't really resonate with my girlfriend. What it was more, she likes quality time, which is the final one we'll get into in a second. So for me, when I gave gifts, it was more like experiences. So we'd go to the symphony, or we'd go on an awesome vacation, and I'd make sure to spend that quality time with her as part of the gift and integrate it in, which, hey, is great for me, but also that's what she responds best to, so it works out really well. Think of this, another example would be with your employees. Sometimes, everyone responds differently. So giving them just like a financial bonus doesn't work for everyone. Sometimes maybe if they like experiences, then you give them, let's say, a vacation, a family vacation, versus again, the gifts, if that's what they respond best to, you can buy them a book, or you can buy them something, some sort of little medallion you could put up on your bookshelf so that every time they look at it, they go, oh, this person cares about me. So again, when you think about it from, what is their primary love language? What are the things that they're talking about? What do they resonate, respond best to? You can really get beneath the surface and persuade someone, again, in an ethical way, to really get them to do what you want, or get them just to feel good and know that it's hitting them on the highest, deepest level. And so the final love language is quality time. And so with each of these love languages, what's important to realize is that there's different dialects. And the way Gary Chapman talks about this in the book is there's different ways to, it's like a language, so let's say quality time, but there's different dialects from the context of some people quality time is just you're going out to dinner together. For other people like my girlfriend, it has to be scheduled quality time. It doesn't even count unless that it's on the calendar, she can prepare for it. She doesn't have to worry about it when it comes up because she knows when it's happening. So it's a little bit different there. For other people, quality time also has to incorporate, let's say, emotional conversation. So you have to talk about your feelings or things like that. And so you might say, hey, we're hanging out together all the time, But she's still saying, we don't do enough stuff together, or we don't do any, I just don't feel like I have enough quality time. And that's probably in the dialect aspect there. And I'm saying she just because I'm talking about my girlfriend, but this goes for everyone. I have multiple clients that I know quality time is most important to them. So I help them set up a game plan when they're with a significant other, as well as just with friends to connect better with their friends. I was saying, okay, let's plan that vacation. Let's plan that trip. Let's plan that time with your employees so that they go, or even clients, so that they say, okay, when I think back, I've spent all this money to work with this person. Yeah, we have a lot of quality time. This person really cares about me. And this has really led to a lot of great results. It's more than just the objective, the byproduct. If you look at the surface there, it's more than just the visual. You have to hit them on all these different levels. And that's why I love this book as a little piece in the arsenal, a little, tool in the tool belt when it comes to persuasion and influence in any social context, because it's just another one of those pieces where you can really dive inside the other person's mind and go, okay, what resonates best with them? How can I, tweak the dials even more and really connect the dots then to get them to respond the way that I want them to? So again, think about what your love language is. Think about the people that are closest to you. What is their love language? Think about your parents. How did they display affection to you? Which one of the 5 was it? And think about, okay, which one is mine? And how can I communicate that effectively to other people? And how can I make sure to get out of my own way and not bias what my love language is to other people? How can I make sure to find what theirs is? I got a list of what other people's are in my client book list. I can say, okay, here's what they are. How can I make sure that they're getting the most out of working with me? And so they feel, oh man, they feel motivated and driven. And you can use these to tweak the dials to get that response that you want them to have. So definitely check out the book. It's a quick read. I think it was only 4 hours on Audible. I'll put a link down below so you can check it out for yourself on Amazon. And if you want more book reviews, definitely let me know. Comment down below if you've read this book. I'd love to hear what you think of it, if you have any questions about it. And if you want me to review any other books, let me know. This is the first one. I'll see if this is something that you guys enjoy. This feels right for you, if you resonate with this. So comment down below. And if you haven't subscribed, make sure to do that to get this coming every single week, every Wednesday morning. And as always, stay warm and enjoy.